Hey y'all, I am Megan, and this is the Yes Godcast, where we come to integrate our personal will with the divine will that God has for our lives. Yes, God, and I'm so excited about this. What if I told you that the moment everything is falling apart in our lives is actually the moment when alignment begins, okay? I know that it can feel devastating. I know that feeling when you get that call or you get that email or you get that information and your heart drops into the pit of your stomach, right? And that happened to me several years ago. I was told that I was going to be getting this job. I had just finished up a contract. I was told, hey, you know what? We're going to hire you. It's going to be great. I went on the interview. I thought, perfect, perfect, perfect. And I received an email, the form email that they send everybody that says, we decided to go with another candidate. And my heart sank. And I had to take a deep breath. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So, of course, naturally, I started applying for jobs everywhere. I started looking all over the place. What can I do? I need to hurry up and get another job. And nothing was landing. I wasn't getting any callbacks. I wasn't getting any email backs. I wasn't getting anything. Nothing was hitting. And it got to a point where I started getting really desperate. And I was like, okay, you know what? Mama's got to figure out how to pay this rent because rent is coming and I don't have any more checks coming in. And I got really creative. I started going and finding free furniture on Craigslist. I had a minivan and I started finding free furniture on Craigslist and going and get the furniture, reposting the same pictures that they had posted on the free ad, and I would post them under a paid ad. And I was able to flip furniture. I was doing gigs. I was going and driving to people's mobile home parks and taking video of the condition to them because they live down in Texas or whatever. I mean, I was doing it all. And it was such a space of vulnerability, and it was really a rock bottom space for me that also allowed me to be open to all the possibilities, right? And I think that is the beauty when we have a breakdown or when we feel like we're at rock bottom, when the plans that we had for our lives, the relationships that we had, the jobs, the business, the career, the health, whatever it is, it can feel debilitating. It can feel crippling at the time. However, if we can tune our perspective to understand that it's an opportunity, we can shift in the most miraculous and divine ways. And what wound up happening after months of kind of just scrimping and scramping and putting it together and doing loose and end jobs here and there, I was actually in a room with a group of women. I was shopping for some crystal jewelry. And someone mentioned, hey, you know what? I've always wanted to try yoni steaming. Does anybody know about that? And was known for that among my friends because it's something that I had incorporated into my life several years prior to that. So naturally, the connection was made. She asked me how much I would charge her to come do a yoni steam. And my business was born. Yes God Wellness was a brand that was initially focused on womb healing, womb wellness through the ancient technique of yoni steaming. And so we have to ask ourselves the question when we are in the pits of life, right? When life is just lifing, is this a breakdown or is this a setup? Okay. Because again, I know it can feel like everything's crumbling, but we can ask the question, you know what, God, can you show me how I'm supposed to be shifting right now? And that does require a level of surrender, right? Because we have been taught that hustle, 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 work, 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 move, move, move. And that's exactly what I did. I was moving that furniture, boy. I was really, really hustling and grinding. And I had a willingness, though. I had a willingness to do whatever it took. And I happened to be in a fated circumstance where a beautiful brand, a beautiful business, a beautiful movement was born. And so I don't think there's a person in the world who has not experienced confusion, grief, and ego death that comes with life no longer going according to plan. Okay. And so, what I have learned through many, many years of experience and trial and error and personal development and spiritual development is that every human being has a personal will for their life, right? We all have desires, right? We have desires of what we would daydream and fantasize that we could be, okay? And I'm here to tell you that if you have a desire in your heart, God wants that for you, okay? God wants that for you. The way that you're going to get to it, though, you might need to be a little bit flexible. As a matter of fact, you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to surrender the ways in which you think it's going to play itself out, the ways in which you think it's going to happen, okay? And there is a divine will, like I said in the beginning of this video. There's a divine will and a divine purpose that God has for every single human being in their life and what they are brought here in this world to do. And then there is a personal will and a personal purpose that we as human beings feel like. And I promise you that they are related, okay? They are related. However, we have to allow ourselves to surrender. We have to allow ourselves and give ourselves permission not to know the who, what, where, whens, and whys. Because when we start connecting our action and the things that we're doing to a certain result or a certain outcome or a certain circumstance is when we can start to get disappointed by life. All right. And so one of the things that I've always been really, really passionate about is manifestation, creating my reality, and more recently now understanding the concept of selecting my reality. Because creation is finished, right? There are infinite versions of us on infinite timelines. I highly recommend a book called Parallel Universes of Self by Frederick Dotson. He is an amazing, amazing author, coach, speaker. And when the concept was first introduced to me, I was all over it because I was like, wait a minute, what? There's many different versions of me. And what I have realized over the last couple years, especially the last few months, is that we get to select our reality based on the identity that we are embodying, okay? So we can choose to interpret life circumstances as a punishment or preparation, okay? We, again, have been taught to struggle, hustle, get it done, grind it out, no pain, no gain, hard work equals success. And the reality is that when we came into this world as children, we did things for the joy of it, right? We did things because we wanted to, because they felt good. And somewhere along the way, we lost that. We lost listening to that heart, listening to that intuition, leaning into what felt good and moving away from what didn't. And a lot of times it's because of our life circumstances. We may have had a traumatic childhood. We may have had a traumatic adolescence. There's a lot of different environmental, social factors that lend themselves to who we become and what our personalities and what our beliefs become about life. And I'm here to say that if you can open your mind and your heart up to a different way of doing things, I promise you, life can be fulfilling. Your life can be aligned. Your life can be peaceful. It can be joyous. And it can be something that you wake up looking forward to every day. Okay. But we have to be willing to, first of all, accept the reality that we have a divine legacy. Okay. If you were a human being here on earth, that means you were the strongest swimmer. All right. You are a really, really strong swimmer. You made it through the finish line. Not that you just make it through, you were selected by that egg. Okay. I don't know if anyone understands the concept of conception, but the egg selects which sperm is going to conceive. Okay. And so you went through that whole process for a purpose, for a reason. And life is similar to that, right? We are all selecting what is able to penetrate us and what roots are able to grow and what fruits we see in our lives, okay? And I know that sometimes we don't feel like that because it feels like, well, this happened to me and this happened to me and this is about my upbringing and this. And the reality is that we have a choice on how we perceive the things that have happened to us. And I'm not going to say it's easy. Sometimes it takes work. It takes work to reprogram. It takes work to process out the trauma that we've gone through. It takes work to forgive other people and to forgive ourselves. Okay. And that's what my work is really centered around. And that's what Yes God Wellness started as, was a brand where we did that through yoni steaming. And we did that through accessing that sacred portal that women have and where we create from. And now this brand has expanded to encompass everyone, because we all need this. We all deserve to be healed and whole, and understanding that our identity is a divine lineage from God. Okay? We are not the things that have happened to us. We are not the trauma that we've gone through. We are not even the bad decisions we've made. We're none of those things. We are all an extension of God. And when we can start to fully wrap ourselves around that and fully start to understand and embody that, we can remove ourselves from identifying with our circumstances. We can remove ourselves from circumstances and outcomes meaning something about who we are. Because if you think about people who are maybe depressed or anxious, it's because you're assigning meaning to things that are outside of you. Your relationships, your finances, your health, your appearance, so many things that we give all this meaning to, when in reality, we are children of God. Okay, we are divine extensions of God. And the sooner that we can start accepting that and identifying with that and coming from that position, I'm telling you, life starts to surprise you in ways that your wildest imagination could never have fathomed. Yes, God. All right, so I do also, just to as a quick plug, I do have a reality selection course which goes over the concepts that I'm talking about right now. And it really goes deeply into how scripture even backs up the fact that we are all divine extensions of God, okay? And how we do have the power to select our realities, all right? So again, maybe your career just ended. Maybe you had a relationship that just ended. Maybe your health has changed, or you're wondering, what's next? What am I going to do? And I want you to understand that disruption is not failure, okay? Unexpected redirection can bring you immense amounts of peace, okay? When everything external is falling down around you, there can still be something internal that stands firm and stands tall, okay? We all have access to that. It's about a willingness, and really it's about a surrender. It's something that I had to do myself. And you can feel like something bigger is trying to emerge, okay? Even if it's a faint whisper, right? Because all human beings have that faint little whisper. I call it the divine GPS. Some people call it the intuition. Some people call it the gut instinct, the first mind. It's that initial feedback that your body gives you. Our body always gives us an initial feedback, yes or no, right? Especially when we're talking about relationship concerns or relationship trauma. I'm talking about relationships that you choose as an adult. No one has ever had a traumatic experience in a relationship that their body did not first tell them, this doesn't really feel safe. Now, it might feel comfortable, it might feel familiar, right? But it's not safe though, right? And God has given all of us that ability to be able to tune in and listen to what the divine power that lives within us is steering us and telling us to go, okay? And a lot of times we don't listen to it because it's scary, right? It's something different than what we've been doing. It's unfamiliar. And fear comes up, fear comes to keep us safe. Well, I'd rather deal with the hell that I already know than something unexpected and new, because what if it's even worse? But we have to start aligning ourselves with the mindset of, what if it's even better? What if it's way better than I could have ever imagined? Yes, God. So one of the things that we can do, okay, to get in touch with the God that lives within us, right? Because the God that lives within us is attuned to the heart, okay? We have been attuned to allowing the brain to lead, the mind, the logic, the rationing, the left side of the brain to tell us who, what, where, when, why things do or don't make sense, or why we should or shouldn't do things. The way that we drop into the God self is by taking some deep breaths, because deep breathing regulates the heart, right? And God lives in our hearts. So what we're working towards is restructuring the inner authority, right? Because most of our inner authority is the logic leading the heart, telling the heart, that doesn't make sense, that's stupid, no one's going to like that, no one's going to care. And we have to restructure that inner authority and bring that heart up to the leadership position. Okay? I use a metaphor where it's like the mind is the manager and the heart is the CEO. Okay? And most of us are living our lives allowing the manager to tell the CEO how the company is supposed to be run. No, God. We allow the CEO, that heart, that instinct, that gut, that intuition. We let that tell the mind, hey, this is the vision and this is how I need you to go ahead and make that vision happen for me. Okay? And so that is a huge paradigm shift from how we have been conditioned. Okay? So yes, God. This is something that we are going to be unpacking in the Success Sanctuary that's starting on April 27th, 2025, depending on when you're watching this video. This may or may not be available when you're watching the video, but we are going through a 6-week intensive where we're going to be walking together through how we restructure that inner authority, how we start to identify with our divine legacy, how we start to integrate that divine will with our personal will so that we can live in a life of flow instead of whitewater rafting our way through life when we let the mind lead. Because when the mind leads, it leads with action. And action is very important in life, right? We need the mind. We need our sense of humor. We need our wit. We need our brilliance. We need our intelligence. But we need it to be in its rightful position of co-creator, okay, not leader. And so what we're going to be doing in the intensive is really working together to bring all those things together so we don't have to continue to whitewater raft our way through life through repetitious action that's not getting us the result that we want, okay, or the results that we think we should get. Because when you allow God, the God within you to lead, and you allow your heart to lead you, even though your mind might be scared, you can collapse time. You can accomplish something within a month that could take you 10 years of action that's not aligned action, okay? So we want to be making sure that the action that we're taking, that work ethic that we have, that drive that we have, we want to be directing it in the right place so that it can bring us to the desires of our heart sooner, not later. Yes, God. All right? So the collapse that you're going through, or that you went through, or that you may go through in the future, look at it as sacred, okay? Look at it as, I have God within me. That means I have created these circumstances in my life. And so why did I create this? What is the purpose of this? What is this trying to show me? And I'll give you the cliff notes. It's to bring you back to love. It's to remind you that you are made of love. Because love always has the final word. Yes, God. Okay? So if this is hitting home with you, please go ahead and share this Yes Godcast with someone who needs a reminder that the breakdown is part of the glow up. Okay? Yes, God. And again, you can check out all my offerings below. I hope to see you in the next episode of the Yes Godcast. And we will chat soon. Yes, God.